Foreigners beware. The hidden dangers of dating in Vietnam. Do you think you're dating a Vietnamese woman who is beautiful and genuinely devoted? If your answer is yes, then I'm sorry, but I have to be blunt. You might be making a massive mistake. I personally know an American guy who lost $30,000 all because of a photo of a piece of land and a promise. $30,000. That was his entire retirement savings. Most expats coming to Vietnam have one huge misconception. They think that the strong family culture and the gentleness of Vietnamese women guarantee a safe relationship. But that is simply no longer true. The biggest danger in dating in Vietnam isn't the chaotic traffic. It's the sophisticated scammers who pose as successful business people or naive, innocent girls online. They are not asking for money directly anymore. They are creating incredibly complex psychological traps. In this video, I'm not just going to tell you that chilling story, but I'll also point out the three critical red flags of this new wave of scams that 99% of foreigners are missing. If you want to date safely in Vietnam and keep both your heart and your wallet intact, then you have to watch this whole video. Let's expose the hidden world of dating behind those beautiful online photos. I once met a guy named Mark, a 52-year-old construction engineer from Texas. Mark was a decent, kind-hearted man, and he came to Vietnam with one singular desire: to find a genuine connection he hadn't been able to find back home. He was extremely cautious of the old-school financial scams, which is precisely why this story is so terrifying. Everything started on a premium dating app. Mark connected with Lynn, a woman who claimed to own a chain of high-end jewelry stores in Hanoi. Lynn was unlike any profile he had seen. She never once mentioned needing money. The photos she shared were of meetings with foreign partners, expensive resort vacations, and shots taken inside a glamorous, sparkling storefront. She wasn't the hot girl stereotype looking for cash, but rather possessed the refined beauty of a successful, sophisticated businesswoman. She built her facade meticulously. She spoke fluent English, had a keen knowledge of the U.S. real estate market, and constantly shared the pressures of her job and her dreams of business expansion. Mark was drawn in not just by her looks, but by the compatibility in ambition and lifestyle. They chatted every day. Lynn always began with deep questions about his feelings, his childhood, and his past sorrows. She played the role of a phenomenal listener. This went on for almost 6 months, long enough for Mark to believe he had found his soulmate. To make things even more convincing, Lynn included Mark in group video calls with people she introduced as her sister, studying in Canada, and her uncle, a renowned architect. These were all real people, doing real things, subtly arranged to cement Mark's absolute trust. However, Lynn always had a reason to refuse meeting in person. One time, she was busy signing a major contract in Da Nang. Another time, she was ill. And sometimes, it was a personal rule that she needed time to test the relationship. This, ironically, only made Mark respect and trust her commitment more. In the 7th month, the climax began. Lynn abruptly shared an exclusive investment opportunity in a beachfront land project she was pursuing. She didn't ask Mark for money. She just said, "I wish I could do this with the man I love. This land will be where we build our shared vacation home." This is where the tactic upgraded. Instead of begging for funds, she created a craving for a shared future in Mark's mind. Lynn then acted embarrassed and said she was short a small amount, just $30,000, to complete the complex legal paperwork. She insisted she could figure it out, but it would force her to fire sale some of her assets. Mark, driven by the instinct of a man wanting to protect and build a future with his lover, offered to help. Lynn initially refused strongly, which made Mark believe she was a woman of integrity and not at all opportunistic. Finally, after many times of Mark insisting, Lynn reluctantly accepted the $30,000. She carefully sent Mark a fake contract, complete with seals and the signature of a law firm. Everything moved fast, and after receiving the money, Lynn promised to meet Mark that weekend to look at the land together. Mark was excited, preparing for their first in-person date. He booked a flight and a luxury hotel suite. But on the day he was supposed to fly, Lynn went silent. 1 day. 2 days. All her social media accounts vanished. Mark, in a panic, flew to the jewelry store where Lynn had taken her photos. The shocking truth hit him. The owner was an older woman who looked at Lynn's photo and coldly stated, "Ah, this is the girl I hired as a model for my jewelry 2 years ago. She doesn't work here anymore." Everything Mark had seen, the meetings, the travels, the fake family members, had been professionally staged for one purpose only: to emotionally trigger Mark into voluntarily giving up his money. Mark didn't just lose $30,000, he lost his profound trust in people. He learned the hard way that modern dating scams in Vietnam aren't about poor girl asking for cash, but a form of future phishing. This is what I need you to understand. The modern scammer will never reveal themselves as being vulnerable or weak. They will appear as the perfect, unattainable version of the partner you've always looked for. So, how do you avoid becoming the next Mark? Mark's story reveals a heartbreaking truth. Many of you guys think you're being a generous, wealthy man helping a damsel in distress, but in reality, you are the victim of a high-level psychological operation. Most gentlemen are making a fundamental error by applying Western dating standards to a vastly different culture. Therefore, we need to analyze exactly why Mark fell for the trap and dive deep into how these scammers create absolute, bulletproof trust in their victims. The biggest pitfall for foreign men dating in Vietnam is that they are drawn in by the traditional relationship fantasy. They are looking for gentleness, a focus on family, and respect for men qualities they often feel are missing back home in the West, and the scammers know this precisely. In other words, people like Lynn don't lure you with poverty. They lure you by providing the exact, perfect image of the partner you crave. She didn't need money. She needed a partner with a shared vision, and you voluntarily transformed yourself into the investor for this so-called true love. And here's my personal take on this. When dating, I've noticed a clear distinction between a woman who cares about emotional connection and one who cares about a lifestyle upgrade. If your partner constantly weaves tales about her family's financial hardship, the pressure to buy a house for her parents, or an impending life-changing business opportunity, this isn't just sharing life. This is financial conditioning. But how do they get you to trust them enough to willingly hand over the cash? They use two incredibly powerful psychological tactics. First, they activate the Ben Franklin effect. Do you actually believe that financially helping them makes them love you more? In psychology, this phenomenon states that when you do a favor for someone, you tend to like them more, because your brain has to justify your action. I helped her because I love her. Scammers are brilliant. They don't ask for money immediately. They ask you to do small initial favors, like sending a small gift or transferring a little cash for a sick relative. These small investments make you increasingly convinced that the relationship is real. That's why when Lynn asked for the $30,000, Mark didn't see it as a scam. He saw it as the natural next step in the relationship, a necessary investment in the future they had built together. The more emotion and money you invest in a relationship, the harder it is to accept that it's a fraud. Second, they build fake social proof. How do their family members lie to you? As in Mark's story, Lynn used fake relatives to tap into a core human need, the need for social validation. In Vietnamese culture, family approval is paramount. By introducing her sister or uncle in video calls, Lin created live proof that she was real, her family was real, and her career was real. These hired actors might even say things like, "Thank you, Mark. You've made my sister so much happier," which makes you feel like a rescuing hero. When multiple people confirm the story, your brain shuts down the risk analysis. You trust them absolutely, because it's not just trust in one person, but trust in an entire fabricated social system built around you. All these tactics are focused on manipulating the emotions of foreigners, preying on the desire to be loved and respected. That's why vigilance is key. So, how do you break free from this cycle and date safely? So, how do you escape this destructive loop and date safely? We can't live in total suspicion, but we absolutely must date smarter. Our goal is to enjoy the real beauty of a Vietnamese relationship, but without becoming the next Mark. First off, you need to arm yourself with the ability to spot the practical red flags. Don't just focus on the feelings. Ask yourself, does your partner always steer the conversation back to family hardships, especially right before mentioning a business opportunity or a big purchase? Or do they consistently refuse to meet you in public, verifiable places, insisting on keeping the relationship confined to the virtual world? These are signals that don't just warn of deception, they are proof of a fundamental lack of transparency from the start. That's precisely why I want to give you 4 survival rules for dating in Vietnam. Rule number 1, the 30-day in-person rule. This is a vow you must keep. Do not discuss money, large investment projects, or any financial support until you have met the person in real life at least 5 times over the course of 30 days. This ensures you are dating a real human being, not a fake profile image. Rule number 2, the financial zero rule. Do not try to buy love with excessive generosity. Set clear boundaries. You can pay for dinner, buy a small gift, but do not loan or invest money for anyone you meet online, especially a local partner, until that relationship has been proven over a long period with complete financial transparency. Rule number 3, the independent verification rule. Remember the story about Lin and the fake relatives. Never trust the social proof they provide you. You must verify their information independently, their workplace, their home address, if possible, and do not rely on the word of their introduced family members. Dig deeper through unofficial channels. Rule number 4, the self-worth rule. Always remember that your value in a relationship is not measured by the amount of money you spend, but by your character, your sincerity, and your capacity for emotional connection. If they only care about a lifestyle upgrade and aren't truly listening to your soul, then it's not love. Love in Vietnam can be deeper and more beautiful than many other places. The family connection, the tender romance, those are things any foreigner should experience and cherish. But do you want a real emotional connection, or are you just being treated like a walking ATM? Start by listening to your heart, but let your mind hold the safe key. Have you ever been in a relationship that made you question the true motives of your partner? Or do you have a personal red flag you want to share to protect others? Drop a comment below, share your story. Together, we can make the dating community safer. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next deep dive into life and love in Asia. I'll see you in the next video.